Hello everybody, this is Brian Mounts again, turfmechanic.com. Today we're going to be talking about spring. It's basically spring. What am I recording this on March 10th? I don't know. Depending on where you live, spring's already here. Where I live, it's still dormant, but man, we're close. Thing is, in the very early spring, there's a number of lawn chores that we can be doing outside that's going to set us up for the coming season. It doesn't matter if you are I'm in my warm stuff here. If you're wearing shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops down south, you're probably going to be doing a lot of the same things those of us up north are doing while we're wearing our sweaters and hats. For those of you guys running Bermuda grasses way down south, Bermuda grass typically is the grass that you grow in the hottest of climates. But if you have a Bermuda grass, your lawn has probably been pretty darn brown for a long time, unless you are way down south where it never goes dormant. Bermuda grass goes dormant once the soil temperature gets below 55 degrees. So in the springtime, it takes a while for average soil temperatures to get up over 55 degrees. Even if you're experiencing 70, 75, 80 degree days, you might be experiencing cold nights, which keeps the average temperature down. You're going to be experiencing brown grass, but if you dig down deep underneath the let's call it the top levels, the top layers of your turf canopy, you're going to find some green just poking out above the ground. Basically what happens with Bermuda grass is the plant dies off, or let's say the foliage dies off as soil temperatures drop. All of the energy is reserved down to the root system. Everything stays alive down there. And then as soil temperatures start coming up, it starts pushing new green shoots out of the ground. You're not going to see those green shoots if you leave the brown dead grass from the previous season there. This is the reason that people with Bermuda grass scalp their lawn. So this time of year, if you live way down south and you have a Bermuda lawn, you should cut your grass, cut the dead brown grass really, really low, like way lower than you would ever do it at any other point of the year. This is what scalping the lawn is called. In the Bermuda community, the people with the best Bermuda lawns scalp their lawn in the early spring so that all of that green can actually push up. Now, that's only for Bermuda lawn. What everyone else does is we wait for things to wake up in the spring and start growing and just kind of grow out the brown, because new shoots don't replace the brown stuff. Now, if you're scalping a Bermuda lawn, you're going to want to rake all that dead stuff up and get it off the lawn, maybe bag it with your mower. But if you're doing if you're doing other grass types, then you need to wait for that grass to start greening up. Now, sometimes it can be beneficial to take a lawnmower over the grass and cut off the brown tips that have happened from winter dormancy so that the new green growth gets closer to the top. But that's not going to happen so early in the season. The grass doesn't tend to grow vigorously right out of the gate. It usually starts greening up before it starts growing. So there's a few other things that we need to do, like raking. Everybody under the sun here on the YouTubes all talk about raking, and it's for good reason. Raking helps a ton in picking matted material up off the ground. You don't need to dethatch. I have a video about not dethatching at the end of winter. But what's important to remember here is that we need to fluff that lawn up. We need to get matted down grass blades pointed upright so that they start growing up, so that they start getting airflow and sunlight, and all of that is true. I cannot stress this enough. This is an important thing, but it's not the only thing. So regardless of whether or not you have a warm season or a cold season grass type, let's talk about the other things that we can be doing this time of year. Raking is going to help introduce airflow into the lawn. It's going to help warm up the soil surface. It's going to help sunlight to get down to the grass crowns, but aerating the lawn is going to do the same thing, except for it's going to supercharge the process. Now, I have other videos here, not that old either. I mean, we're talking videos published within the past month about aerating the lawn and how important it is. I personally manually aerate my lawn because my main lawn, the part that I would aerate, is relatively small. If you've got a lawn space that's like, let's call it 2,000 to 2,500 square foot or more, you're most likely going to want to head off and rent a mechanical aerator or hire a company to do it, because manually aerating a lawn more than 2,000 square feet is just an awful lot of time. It's a big time commitment. I personally am sitting on about a 20-hour manual labor job that I'm not sure if I want to finish. I'm going to do it because I've committed to it. But it's a big job, and I'm spreading it out over days, probably a couple weeks. It's important to finish though, because aerating the lawn is really going to introduce airflow down into the root system of our grass before the grass really starts growing. This is going to create an aerobic environment. So any materials, any organic matter that falls down into those holes, me personally, I like to push stuff into those holes after I aerate with a broom. I basically put organic matter into the holes. I've got peat moss. I've been collecting coffee grinds. Like seriously, like my coffee that I drink every single morning, I save the coffee grinds. And later in this spring season, I'm going to be pushing a lot of those coffee grinds into the holes because it is a slow release nitrogen fertilizer. It's very mild, but it is organic matter and it will fertilize ever so slightly. Coffee grinds, peat moss, earthworm castings. I don't want to decrease the soil mass of my lawn, but I do want air penetration to be easier. I want compaction to be lessened. All of these things help my lawn later on in the season when it comes to applying fertilizers and products and just generally mowing and keeping the lawn looking its best. The vast majority of things that happen in the lawn really depend on microbial life. So adding the organic matter into the lawn, all of this stuff that we do manually to make the lawn perform better, and not the lawn, I'm talking about the soil, to make the health of the soil better is going to benefit the lawn in the long run. All right, now after I've core aerated my lawn, after I brushed organic matter into those cores, after I've replaced some of the material that I have removed, this is the best time of the year, really, in my opinion, to turn the sprinklers on and start doing some sprinkler zone tests. Now, obviously, you can't be doing this if your soil is frozen. And honestly, a lot of these things, you really have to wait until the soil warms up anyway. But we're talking spring here. The vast majority of places shouldn't have frozen soil at the end of March. When you turn your sprinklers on, depending on your temperatures and the wee hours of the morning, you may have to end up turning them back off at the end of the day and re-draining the system just to keep things safe. But you need to understand how your sprinklers are working. And before we need sprinklers hardcore, like you really need sprinklers later in the spring and then through the summer and the early fall, when you don't have overcast skies. And in the early spring, we flip those sprinklers on, we'll stick cans in the lawn and turn our zones on if we have a sprinkler zone system, or if you have an above ground system, set it up, test it, figure out how much water is going down on different parts of the lawn. For instance, behind me back there, that's zone 1 on my sprinkler system. It takes 90 minutes of my sprinkler system to put down ½ an inch of water over there. Where I'm standing right now, this is zone 2. This zone takes 150 minutes on my sprinkler system to put down ½ an inch of water. That's 2.5 hours. That's significantly more than it is over there. And then lastly, way over here by my chickens, over by my garage over there, that's zone 3. I only need to run the sprinkler over there for 60 minutes to get ½ an inch of water. So these are little things that you need to test on your own property and your own systems to figure out what your system does. Everybody's system is different, and obviously, since my yard is different all the way around, yours is probably different all the way around too. While you're running these sprinkler systems and testing how much water comes out, take some time to go and take a look at every single sprinkler head, every single pop-up sprinkler or impact sprinkler, whatever it is that you use. Look at them, make sure that they're working properly. They might need to be cleaned, they might need to be maintained, they might need to be replaced. This is the time to do that. Now, if you're still experiencing freezing temperatures at night, even if maybe it's like 50, 55 degrees during the day, around here, we're still getting down to about 25 degrees every single night, no matter how nice of a day it is. So you might still want to drain the sprinkler system out after you do these tests anyway, before you kick the sprinkler on full time a little bit later in the spring. But that's going to be a decision that you need to make yourself. After you go through your sprinkler head and irrigation system assessment, take some time to go take a look at your lawnmower. Now there's a few things to do with the lawnmower. The most important thing is probably that mower blade. Unless you were really on top of the ball, maybe got really bored in the month of January, and you went out and sharpened up your mower blade, you need to have a sharp mower blade. Now, in the spring, you're gonna be using your lawnmower probably more often than just about any other time of the year. So if you can get a sharp mower blade right off the bat, you're going to be cutting the grass. It's going to be cutting easier. It's going to have less drag on the mower, cutting the grass with a sharp blade. And as summer approaches, if you are cutting your grass with a sharp blade, then the grass is going to be less susceptible to fungal infection and disease. So all of the stresses that come with summer, they are going to be minimized ever so slightly, but they will be minimized when you're using a sharp lawnmower blade. This is the time to do it because I don't know, our grass is slowly starting to green up here, but I certainly don't have to cut it every 2 days. I've got the time to go do this. Now the simplest way, or I shouldn't say the simplest, the most, I don't know, fundamental way to do this is just pull the lawnmower blade off, grab a file from your garage, like a metal file, and just file it down and make it sharp. Now there are also drill attachments, which I don't personally own. However, I am absolutely planning on buying one this season. I've been lusting after them for a long time. So I'm going to get one, and I'm going to use that to sharpen my blades this year. I'll probably have some references and maybe some videos on that later on. But alternatively, this is the time to take your mower blade down to a professional shop and have them do it for you. If you really don't want to do it yourself or don't think that you can do it well enough, then just take it down to a shop. It doesn't cost that much. And it's going to benefit you in the long run because you might not have to put down, I don't know, curative rates of fungicide down the road simply because you took the time to sharpen your blade and use a sharp blade through the spring and into the summer. Another thought having to do with lawnmowers is if this is the year that you've decided that you want to bring the height of your grass down, or maybe you want to cut your grass a little bit more deliberately this year. If you want to cut your grass more frequently, then the time to cut it is going to come into consideration. Let's say, for instance, it takes you an hour to cut your grass and you do it once a week. So if you decide, hey, I'm going to start cutting my grass twice a week, it's going to take 2 hours. This literally, like March, is the time to consider, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you're gonna consider getting a larger lawnmower, do it now, because I swear to you, if you wait to the month of June to go lawnmower shopping, you are gonna have a hard time finding the exact model that you want. I know this because I bought like 8 lawnmowers last year. Some of the lawnmowers, I literally had to wait like 50 days for them to be delivered. So if you've got a large piece of property and you've decided that you want to start cutting it twice instead of once, and if you want to upgrade your lawnmower to a wider deck, then that can considerably cut down on the time it takes to do it. So a larger lawnmower will give you the time to be able to cut it twice a week. Do your shopping now. As an example, just to belabor this point, as an example, I have a Greenworks 21-inch mower in my garage. It's actually got somewhere around a 19.5-inch wide deck. Now, if you're doing a 2-inch overlap on every pass, basically every time I run that mower, I'm literally cutting off about 17.5 inches of grass. Now, Greenworks also has a dual blade, like a spinny here and a spinny here kind of thing. It's a dual blade 25-inch mower. I'm going to guess that it's about a 24-inch cutting path. And if you subtract 2 inches for overlap, you're looking at about 22 inches versus 17.5 inches for every pass. That's like about a 30% time savings. Now, I don't own that dual, and I don't know if I'm going to get it. But like I said, I got like 7 or 8 lawnmowers in my garage right now. But anyway, the whole point here is if you have a large plot of property, March is the time to go shopping for a lawnmower, not June. June, you are going to be riddled with out of stock messages and long wait times. Do it now if you're considering doing it. And honestly, the same thing goes for mower blades. If you don't want to manually sharpen your mower blade every couple months or so here at your house, or wait for your dealer to do it for you, go buy a second blade. These things really don't cost that much. Depending on the blade, I mean, $20 to $40, and you can have a backup, so you can pull off an old blade and stick on the new one and get them all sharpened up at the same time, or, you know, offsetting your time. It's worth it. This is the time to do that kind of shopping. Of course, for battery mowers, we want to check our batteries, make sure that they're working properly. They usually are if we've been storing them well over the winter. Gas-powered mowers, for the most part, are going to do just fine. We haven't used them for about 3 months or so, but make sure to check your fluids before you need them. You don't want to wait for everything to start growing and be overgrown and then find out that your carburetor needs to be cleaned. It's just not a fun experience. Before the spring flush hits, make sure you grab your mower, whatever mower, if you're going to use the same one from last year, grab that thing, tune it up, get it working, make sure that it's going to work properly for you before you need it. Now, with all of that said, let's talk about cutting the grass, because quite honestly, in the early spring, this is common. Look at this, right? Look at this right here. I got a bunch of like kind of semi greening up grass, but then there's little tufts of green like there and there and there. I have dogs, so they pee in the lawn sometimes. They fertilize the little spots, they warm it up, the grass starts growing there. These areas need to be cut. So pick up your mower and cut them. There's going to be some localized places next to sidewalks, next to stone walls, whatever it is. Maybe you got next to sprinklers. I have literally over there, ahead of me over there, I've got a sprinkler. I've got our well has a tiny little leak in one of the pipes that we're going to be fixing here very soon. It's warming up all the soil all around it. So the grass is literally greening up over there. I'm cutting that grass every like 3 days right now. And it's like, it's not even the middle of March yet. Cut your grass wherever it is growing, even if it's tiny little tufts here and there, cut it, because that's real grass. It should be adhering to the 1/3 rule as well. We shouldn't be waiting for it to get all overgrown, waiting for all the rest of the lawn to start growing before we start cutting it. Because if we do, then we're just going to be damaging those little spots, cutting off way too much all at the same time. Just start cutting your grass. Early spring, very into winter, still a great time to be doing soil tests. So let's get past the lawnmowers. Testing your soil has everything to do with the fertilization schedule that you're going to be putting onto the lawn throughout the rest of the year. Make sure, I mean, they don't cost much. They really don't. There's places in my town that sell these kits. You can buy them on Amazon. You can go down to your extension. I've got an entire video where I'm comparing 7 or 8 of the biggest, most commonly sold soil tests out there. There will be links to that in the description if you're curious. Grab a soil, just dig down into your ground, pull some of the dirt up that's below kind of the main root zone, somewhere in that 3 to 4 inch range, and do a soil test, because you're going to find out that you are completely sufficient in a number of resources or a number of nutrients, but there's going to be 1 or 2 of them that you're pretty deficient in. It's always going to surprise you. Figure that out, because that is going to help significantly in choosing what products that you fertilize the lawn with a little bit later in the spring. You know, once things are actually growing, maybe mid-April, 1st of May. While you're waiting for the results of those soil tests to come back, then we can sit there and look at our lawn, like seriously just look at it, look for color. Look at it for like, let's say 40, 50, 60% green up. It doesn't have to be all green. If enough of it is starting to green up, this is the time that you're going to start thinking about doing your first application to the lawn. Now, depending on where you live, that's mostly going to dictate what grass type you have. Time of year is pretty much the same just about everywhere. The very first products you're going to be putting down, that I will be putting down, and I recommend my readers and my viewers to put down, is humic acid. So in my lawn, I've core aerated. After I start getting a little bit of a green up, a little bit before everything's really growing, I'll put down some humic acid. I'll put down a very light dose of micronutrients to help with the green up, to help with the chlorophyll production and the photosynthesis process that the plants want to do naturally. And then a little bit later on, once grass is actually starting to grow and once the soil temperature is starting to come up, then we'll start talking about other fertilization and feeding schedules. But right now it's still early March and most places are not ready for a true fertilization program to begin. This really just dovetails off of my spring lawn care guide, which I've already published a couple weeks ago. If you haven't watched the spring lawn care guide, it kind of summarizes everything from start to finish, late winter all the way to the end of spring. Make sure to watch that. It'll probably be linked up here. I'm going to have a link to an article over on the website down below where a lot of this is outlined out. So thank you very much for your time. Spring is so close, man. Watch that spring lawn care guide linked right up in here, and make it the best year that your yard has ever had. Thank you very much for watching.